What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason, Joe, and Crams are here. Day 3 of Tears for Fears week. Check out the previous videos of our studio album ranking and our top 10 songs. Today, we are going to cover a topic that I am shocked we haven't done already. We're going to talk about great comeback or reunion records. I guess arguably Tears for Fears have a couple of those. Everybody Loves a Happy Ending came out after 9 years and was the first with Kurt Smith since '89. And then they took 18 more years to do the next record, The Tipping Point, which just came out on Friday. So we're going to talk about some other worthwhile reunions. A lot of times reunions aren't all they're cracked up to be, but these are some ones that we like. What do you got?
Well, you kick it off, buddy. Let's stick with the lineup. Let's see what Jason has to say. By the way, there's no guidelines here on how long it has to be. So I actually looked up a list and someone had like a Dylan record because it was the first time he had gone like 5 years without a record. It's like, well, that's...
All right. So I've got maybe my favorite reunion record of all time. In a rare instance where I would rank this record above all of the other records that this lineup made, and that is Beyond by Dinosaur Jr. I like it more than the original 3-album run with Lou Barlow. I think it's awesome. I think the songs are super catchy and infectious, just great. In a similar vein, I've got a record that a lot of people don't like and that gets a lot of shit talked on it, but I think Indy Cindy is a great comeback record by the Pixies. Really, really strong. I love pretty much every song on that record. Then I've got one that maybe I'm stealing from Joe, but I think Bruce Dickinson's re-entry into Iron Maiden, Brave New World, is excellent and one of their best records overall. I think I had it 4th. I'm not sure. I didn't look, but I think I had it top 5 for sure. This is one I think people maybe don't even remember that this band took some time off because they've been around so long now and they've got so many records. But Perfect Strangers by Deep Purple, when Ritchie Blackmore came back into the band in the mid 80s. And I think some of the songs on that record are just fantastic. Really good reunion. And then my last one, a couple options here, but I'm going to go with a band we talked about somewhat recently, and they made my second favorite album of theirs after a long hiatus, and that's The Magic Whip by Blur. I think of a pretty cool comeback, interesting way to reunite. What do you got?
Well, shame on you for reminding us how bad your Blur list was, but good picks. I've got a bunch here. I'm going to go with a couple that I think everyone would assume I would pick, so I'm going to pick them. MBV by My Bloody Valentine. Absolutely sensational how they're able to kind of modernize and stay the same on this album. And I think a similar thing can be said about Slowdive's comeback album. That one is awesome as well. Stay tuned for more of them possibly coming up in Songs of the Year as they start going for me. Let's also go with, I think there's a couple albums by this artist you could argue are comeback albums, but I'll go Fetch the Bolt Cutters with Fiona Apple. Took like 7 or 8 years off before taking 7 or 8 years off. And I think this album is just incredible. You know, it's full of imagination and tremendous playing and has a really cool vibe on it and is kind of in her head crazy, which I think works really well. I'm also going to go one which I had higher than both of you in the Bowie video, The Next Day. Big break for him after that, coming out with this, I believe it's 2012 or 2014 for The Next Day, but I thought it was just great. It was full of classic Bowie-ness, but also just had kind of a newer perspective, very of its time, like very kind of indie rock, which I know Joe didn't like, but I thought the songs were just all of very high quality. And I don't know which one I'm going to go with here. What the hell? I'll talk more about really, really new stuff. Made my top 10 in 2020. Made of Rain by Psychedelic Furs. Absolutely sensational. Might be my favorite Psychedelic Furs album, which I know will piss off a lot of people that really love them. It's not to say I don't love the 80s stuff, but this album is fantastic. And it's just the style of it is so cool considering how they came back. Like, say what you want about the New York Dolls comeback, but they kind of sounded like old guys a little bit, trying to sound like young guys. And Psychedelic Furs comeback sounds like an older version of the young guys. They nail it. They still keep that youth and vibrance and everything. It's so cool. So I got a few more. Maybe we'll throw in on the end that deserve a little bit of love. But let's hear what Joe's got.
All right, I'm going to try and pick ones that I like the comeback more than the album previous. So start with a little Kate Bush, Ariel, her comeback after 12 years of being away, Red Shoes, probably the worst Kate Bush album. Ariel, 4-star, really nice comeback for her. I will do, and this artist has 2 large breaks in his discography. Dr. Dre started off with The Chronic in 1992, took 7 years off, came back with Eminem in 2001, and then he took 15 years off for Compton, which came out 15 years later. So not the most prodigious album releaser, obviously a very well-known producer and everything, but both of those I think are good. I think 2001 and Compton, very worthy albums. He just seems to come back with like a new rapper to introduce. First it was Snoop, and then it was Eminem, and I don't know who he introduced on Compton, but doesn't matter. Also, I will do Ash, who took 8 years off, sort of. They did this weird project where they kept releasing singles from like named A to Z, and they were okay. But the 8 years between Twilights of the Innocents, which is sort of like a big step down for them, and Kablamo, which came out 2015, I believe. But that one, just like their old stuff, I thought it was a big step up. Really good album for them with Kablamo there. We'll do one I have to mention every time, Death from Above, 1979, who came out with You're a Woman, I'm a Machine in 2004, broke up, and then just randomly, 10 years later, dropped The Physical World, one of my favorite albums of the 2010s. Slightly different style, but still that super heavy bass and drums and really cool like dance, hard rock, whatever, punk. And then we will do one from last year as well. I'm not going to do ABBA. I'm not going to do The Voyage because The Visitors is much better than Voyage. I can't even pretend. But 40 years is a long time, so I do give them credit for that. But I'm going to go with Doves. Kingdom of Rust and The Universal Want was an 11-year span, and I thought they came back really solid, slightly updated sound. And I think Universal Want might be their second best album. So good on them, getting back in the swing of things. I believe that's 5. Anyone else has anything else? There's a fair amount of people with large breaks that came back with some decent stuff, though.
Yeah, I also had Alone by Pretenders, which I don't think you two, if I remember, were crazy about because Dan Auerbach produced it, but I thought that was a really good comeback album for them. And one that never really ever gets talked about or mentioned, and it's not a great album, but I think considering the circumstances is a really good listen. The Who with Endless Wire, good little rock record. They kind of keep their identity. It's not, there's a few really good songs on it. It's not, Who's next level, but for them to come out, I can see being really worried that a new Who record after all that time is just going to be terrible, and pretty good.
I'll throw out one more, Walk on Water, UFO, the return of Michael Schenker, as well as Paul Raymond and Andy Parker. I thought that was a really pretty strong rock record, especially the opening track, Self-Made Man, killer rock song.
I'll mention 2 more. Tool with 10,000 Days and Fear Inoculum, like 13 years or something. Yeah, 13 years. But I think 10,000 Days is much better than Fear Inoculum, but that's still an impressively long time. I got to mention Steely Dan. Steely Dan took a very long 20-year break, came back with all Two Against Nature. Obviously not as good as Gaucho, but definitely not an embarrassing comeback for them.
Let's make some predictions. Who's going to be the next really good comeback album? I'm going to say Peter Gabriel's due to come out of nowhere and just put out an album. I think the last one he did was like the scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, you cover me, I'll cover you, whatever. Maybe some original material from Peter Gabriel would just be awesome.
Been working on one for a long time, so yeah, it's possible. That's a good
how about Black Country New Road? Since I don't know if they actually broke up, but if the lead singer ever gets his act together, maybe in 10 years or so, they'll come back with something that I'll hate.
I can't think of anything. I don't know.
You can't think of anything?
No, who's hasn't
The Cure.
That's true. That's been a while. And they've got a bunch of stuff coming, apparently. That'll be interesting. I really like the last record. People hate it, but I thought 413 Dream was awesome.
What about what was last Stones record?
Blue and Lonesome, that blues thing. It's been a number of years.
Was that around the time they had Doom and Gloom, which wasn't on an album? I think that was just a single. Love that song. But
Aerosmith hasn't come out with one in a while.
I don't think I expect much from Aerosmith, though. I wouldn't predict them to come back with something good.
They have surprised before, though, with their comebacks. Let's not forget.
The last Stones one, the Blue and Lonesome, came out in 2016. So I guess if they came back with something, you could count it.
I don't know. I guess
borderline.
We'll see. Neil Young's due for another album. It's been like 4 months, so he just finds albums like in his closet and stuff. He's like, "Oh yeah, I recorded that. Release this, but not on Spotify."
All right, everybody, let us know what some of your favorite comeback/reunion records are. Drop them in the comments, and also let us know which ones you think might be on the horizon. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed yet, hit the bell for notifications. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, our website, and merch, all in the description, as well as our Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel, check it out. You can sign up for $1, $5, $10, whatever works for you. And we will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.